Hello and welcome back to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call and talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is August 6th, 2017. This is the 34th episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We use Discord as a means to add and drop callers to talk about video games and switch the power that is found in a typical gaming podcast. You can join our server to participate during recordings at rhymeswithasia.com/call. On today's episode, new Persona spinoff games have been announced in our headline Roundup. Our main topic is the best game soundtracks from 2006 to 2013. We will get to your calls, and then we'll end the show with a look at this month in gaming with August 2017. Let's do a bit of housekeeping though. First, I am back from my vacation. I do apologize for the tardiness of last week's episode. It was Friday, July 28th that I recorded with Logan Moore. That was a great episode, I think, overall. Logan from Model Citizens Media. He's from DualShockers.com. It was a great discussion recorded Friday night. Got up way early on Saturday, edited it together, got the final video file ready just as I was about to board the plane, and then had little to no Wi-Fi or cell phone connection for the entire trip. A few days in, I was able to say, you know what, we'll just get the audio out there and do the video version later, but I was a bit dismayed with how that timing came together. I tried to get it edited as soon as possible to get it out there, but that did not work so much. So I do apologize for the tardiness of that one, especially if you were listening and you're like, these stories are a little old, what's the deal? So we're back at it here, and unfortunately it's a slower week in gaming. As far as other housekeeping, it involves the house. My wife and I, we are clear to close on our place that we will be buying and living in. That will be August 15th is when we close. We get the keys. We do some painting for a couple weeks, getting things set up. Probably the very beginning of September is when we're going to move. And so that'll be an interesting time to juggle between podcasting and moving equipment and getting set up, and if time will need to be taken for that. But that's a big exciting change to get things set up on our own. Of course, we're going to have a production room like we currently do here. We're going to kind of build that up from scratch, have another green wall with the same lights and all that. So it probably won't look too different from where you're sitting, but it'll be exciting to get up and running there with a new entertainment center, all that good stuff. So big changes coming in life soon with that whole move. As far as what I'm playing, we don't have a guest today, so I guess we just continue the flow of conversation here. What I am playing, I got to play some PlayStation Vita while I was away. I missed some time with the Vita. My wife was playing Breath of the Wild on Switch, loved it. She's still going through it, trying to complete it, even tackling the 40 stone taluses in the world, or the Hinoxes and Lionels and all that. But she did beat the game probably halfway through the shrines, so I'm glad she's digging into that. But I got to play Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. And if you're thinking, well, I don't remember that game, well, that's probably a good reason. It was a pretty forgettable Assassin's Creed game. This was the one that started on Vita in 2012, released in the same year as Assassin's Creed 3. And there was an interesting bit with a mission where you visited Connor or Rodenaketun. I can't even remember. It's been years with the pronunciation of that particular assassin. That was from the Revolutionary era in New York and New England, kind of that area. But this game took place down in New Orleans and the bayou there. So you had a bit of city, a bit of bayou, mixed it up. Interesting. Not the best story overall. The main hook was that Aveline de Grand Prix was the assassin, and she, which was a big deal at the time, first female playable assassin main character. She has three personas where you could be a lady and walk prim and proper, but you couldn't climb on things, but you can charm your different guards and whatnot. You have your assassin, which you could basically have free run, and then the slave persona, where at the time, slaves were prevalent, and they could carry boxes to get past guards, look like they're doing work, or blend in with those that are working around either the city or in the bayou. And she still had all, the running and jumping sort of abilities, but low health as a result because you don't have armor. So interesting to play with those, but the overall story really didn't go anywhere. Had this odd fake ending. You're not missing too much if you miss out on that, but it was fun to play Assassin's Creed on the Vita. However, there were Vita-specific features, and it was the kind of time where these games were trying to say, oh, right, if this is on Vita, let's try to use the Vita's features. You had the front and rear camera, the front and rear touchpad. You had the gyroscope. You had all sorts of things that whenever they used the Vita's features, it never worked. It was just like, oh, this is awful. And they did come out with an HD version of this game on PS3, which I would recommend picking up, because the gist of it, if you're just looking to, you're bored waiting for Assassin's Creed and you never picked that one up, but you don't want to do the side-scrolling Chronicles and you maybe missed Liberation, it's a fun little game to play. I think most of the fun was having that in a handheld experience, but minus the handheld features. Honestly, one of the worst features in there was saying like, oh, you got a secret letter, and so you got to hold it up to the light to decode the secret message. But when that happens, and if you put it up to like a light bulb or something like that, the Vita's auto camera kicks in. So what is originally a very bright light just kind of auto focuses to like, normal dark exposure. And so you just end up like you're turning the Vita, you're trying to, and it almost happens at random when it triggers and you have to swipe alongside a dial on the screen. It's a mess. Like whenever you're reminded that it's the Vita, it's awful, but the game, fine. Story, forgettable. There's a reason why you don't remember Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. But I did beat that. I did get the true ending, as it were. So that was interesting enough. And then I got back home and I played Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I've never really got on with the Resident Evil games, and I got a small bit into it. I got into the Jack Baker fight quite near the beginning, so I kind of got through the guest house tutorial section. But when he comes hunting for you, it's not fun. Like I'm just like, nope. Not for me. I think I may be interested to kind of see like one of those cutscene movies on YouTube, because Resident Evil lore, I'm sure, is certainly interesting. But these are not games for me. When you take on the first boss and you're seeing the gun headshot loops and you're trying to wait for that, it's just like, this isn't for me. And I'm sure it'd be more scintillating in VR. Certainly, there are a lot of people who have that game pretty high up on their Game of the Year discussion if they're big Resident Evil fans. But I'm glad to see that it's kind of back to the survival horror roots, but just not the kind of gameplay for me. Though I did like the exploration part. I think they've built a really solid engine with that RE engine. Capcom hopefully can use that for some more realistic-like settings. But I'd be interested to watch it, but I'm going to send that one back as a rental. So let's get to our headline roundup. In what was a slow week in gaming news, we had Persona spin-off games announced. They had a big Persona concert. We talked about it at the end of our last episode in the headline roundup there. And it was interesting because, with the delay in getting it out, we talked about it a bit before that there may be a new Persona Q announced. There may be a new Persona dancing game announced. And mostly right on that part. Very interesting to see that, yes, Persona Q2 announced for Nintendo 3DS. Just really a splash screen with the chibi Phantom Thieves logo with the hat and the kind of glasses, the Take Your Heart logo, a very chibi style there. Yeah, 3DS. I wish it were on Switch, but I do understand 3DS still is the bigger install base. It sold really well for their expectations for the first Persona Q game on 3DS, so keep that going. Maybe in the future you get a Switch port, but not too much to be expected there. It really said if it's going to be Persona 5 and 4 and 3 or just Persona 5 or what the deal is, so maybe we'll have to wait for a trailer there. Then not one but two dancing games with Persona 5 Dancing Star Night and Persona 3 Dancing Moon Night. Very interesting to get the 3 game in there. Persona 5 Dancing All Night, I think it was almost expected. Another, surprising seller when it was just on Vita, but now these games will be on PS4 as well. Now, granted, because it was a Japan event, announced for 2018, both of these games in Japan, PS4 and Vita, No word yet on localization. I'm sure that'll come at a later time. And if, Persona 4 Dancing All Night came over here on just Vita, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see, both games come over for PS4 and Vita. Those are pretty easy games to churn out, and people may wonder why is it happening? But you got to think Sega. Sega, the publishing arm, controls Atlas, and also they've been doing the Hatsune Miku dancing games. And when they had that, not really dancing, but the Vocaloid sort of singing games, same sort of rhythm game with the arches, and then you have the 3 sort of dots in the corner. If you've seen the gameplay, it's very similar. You got to imagine that it's just almost like a skin swap, at least for Persona 4 Dancing All Night, and let's keep it going. Let's get some more remixes in there. Do they get Lotus Juice back, the rapper for Persona 3 in particular, and some in 4? But do they get him back like they did for Persona 4 Dancing All Night? That would be interesting to see him come back, since he was absent in 5. But of course, you're going to have Shoji Meguro and all those guest composers, or more arrangers actually, kind of putting their remix spin on some of those titles. So not only that, so Q and 2 dancing games, very surprising. Also, big on the Persona front, you have Persona 5, the animation announced. And that's big for those who don't want to go through such a long RPG, but get through the story. I know quite a few people who experienced Persona 4, the animation, when that anime whether it was just aired in Japan or when it had its dub, and that's big for getting the story across for those who don't want to pour all the time into the RPG. As much as I'd like to recommend that game, that's it's still holding true as my favorite game of 2017 so far, Persona 5. But big news, I wish I could have seen it live, but I'll tell you, that Wi-Fi where I was, something dreadful. I can't. I'm really glad to be back here and broadcasting live on our Discord channel and all that. So missed that for sure. Other couple small headlines here. GameStop will be open on Thanksgiving Day as part of its Black Friday plans. Now, for the last few years, GameStop has taken a stand and say we don't want to do that to our employees. We believe in having the family get together on Thanksgiving, and that's kind of where I stand with it. I don't like the idea of opening at 6 p.m. just to get the Black Friday deals going. If you want to do 10 p.m., I think maybe 9 p.m. at the earliest, because, people had their dinner and they're sitting there with their turkey comas, at least in the United States on Thanksgiving. I think 9 p.m. would, maybe 8. Like, that would be like a stretch, but do that. But when you're talking about retailers opening at 6 p.m. as they have for the last couple years, I don't like that idea. Though if people don't have families to go to, if people want to work on those holiday days, maybe for some extra pay or whatever, I guess that's up to them. But it's going to be interesting to see over time, like maybe the push to online Black Friday shopping, will that be such of an impact? I get GameStop's rationale, at least in that they're trying to hold out and in a way maybe do the right thing in a sense. But if you keep doing that as all these other retailers move up and keep going on Thanksgiving night to start those Black Friday sales, you're going to miss out on sales. You're going to miss out on market share. And I'm pretty sure that would be the rationale of, they can say, we've listened to our customers, we listened to our employees, but that would probably be the real reason why they're actually doing this, is to actually get those sales that otherwise would be missed from staying closed. Unfortunate, but I guess that's the way it is. And if you want to just stick true and do some online shopping, whether it's that Black Friday weekend or Cyber Monday, that's what I'll do. So stick with that there, I guess. And finally, NBA Live 2018 will feature WNBA teams and rosters for the very first time. Now, NBA Live, of course, the EA offering, the lesser of the two games in the NBA basketball market. Obviously, NBA 2K eats its lunch, has done so for the last several years, one of the elite premier games in the sports game genre. However, NBA Live's trying to make a comeback this year. They had an attempt a couple years ago, didn't go so well. Remember, that was Kyrie Irving doing the dribble on stage at E3 that one year. They tried NBA Elite before. I want to say that was back in 2011, and that got canceled. So NBA Live is trying to maybe take a piece of that NBA pie. But I found this particularly interesting because the WNBA has been around for quite some time. I want to say 1996 the league's been around for, and it's never had any video game representation. So, kudos really to NBA Live for getting the NBA involved in a video game product. I think it'll be very interesting to see people's reaction to this, if that helps sales at all. I'll be particularly interested to see how the game is represented, because these two leagues are very different watches on TV. So, does the gameplay styles get altered if you're playing a WNBA game between two teams? Are you able to somehow mix and match? Because that would be unusual, I think, to see. I think it's a great announcement to kind of bring interest to what would otherwise possibly be a snoozer of a game in NBA Live, and hopefully they can get that product out there this year. But otherwise, I think it's more going to be interesting to see how they work the WNBA into that game and try to make it seem separate. But I guess that's really the issue. Like, how separate do they keep the NBA and WNBA experiences? But kudos to EA. Well done for getting that involved, because it's about time, really. Let's get to our main topic, though. I had an episode several episodes ago. I might have been episode 21, something like that, where I had a segment on the main topic where we talked about the best game soundtracks since 2013. What are the game soundtracks from this console generation so far, the top 10 best in my opinion? And I wanted to kind of continue that generally on slower news weeks, and boy, wouldn't this week count for that. So let's go back another console generation. So this is the Wii, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3. We're looking from 2006 to 2013. Top 10 game soundtracks in my opinion. I'll play a few samplings, and I guess we'll go from there. And you get to call in and contribute any more that you think would be fitting on that list. So let's get to it. Number 10, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Number 9, Bayonetta. Number 8, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Number 7, Mass Effect 2. Number 6, Journey. Number 5, Near. Number 4, Super Mario Galaxy. Number 3, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Number 2, The Last of Us. And number 1, what I think is the best game soundtrack of that generation from 2006 to 2013, Xenoblade Chronicles. So yes, a lot of great soundtracks. I mean, so many that just missed the cut, and I would love to hear which ones you think are worthy. So when we come back, we will get to the callers. What do you have to say? We can talk about whatever's in the headline roundup, the games you're playing recently, even those top 10 game soundtracks that you just had to listen to, or what is missing from that list. Would love to hear what you have to say. That's all when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. Looking forward to what you have to say. It's a shorter week, I think. Just not much news going on, but we're going to persevere on nonetheless. So let's get to the callers. Joining us from Illinois, Video Game Guru 64. Welcome back to the Power Switch.
Nice to be back.
Thank you for calling in. What would you like to talk about today?
I would like to talk about Splatoon 2 Splatfest that happened yesterday.
It did, yeah. It's the first public one, after the game's launched, because they had the cake and ice cream. That was the sort of test run, but now it was ketchup and mayonnaise, right?
Yes, I was Team Ketchup, and we didn't win. Sad to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't have Splatoon 2, and cake and ice cream to me, like ice cream, no brainer, right? So yeah, I don't know what I would pick. I think I really enjoy both probably evenly, but I think I'd go with mayo probably.
Yeah, I kind of didn't like either, but I feel like I would have liked ketchup more, so that's why I chose Team Ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
So
now mayo won, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and it was interesting. I saw a screenshot of the final results, but ketchup crushed it. It was 79-21, something like that for the vote.
1 and 29, I think.
Okay. Well, how does that work then? I mean, because it seems so overwhelming.
Okay, so the way it works in Splatoon 2, it worked differently in Splatoon 1 because they only had 2 stats to go off of. But I feel like Splatoon 2 has 3 stats to go off of, so that makes it better. But the way it works in Splatoon 2 is voting, how well the single player people did, and team players, so how well you worked in the team and you won in the team.
Okay. All right. So 3 stats and, the breakdowns there, that makes sense, break some ties. Okay. So yeah, I guess, that makes sense with how Mayo won overall.
Yeah, because more people are good at Splatoon 2 voted for Team Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the thing is breaking down. And that's technically how the voting was breaking down in Splatoon 1, because if you wanted to be on the winning side, you would have to pick the least popular choice. Or the least choice that you wanted to win. So, yeah.
Yeah, but those playing statistics, those were very close. So it's good to see it at least competitive there. And I found it interesting that seeing people with different screenshots of the gameplay, that the ink was red and that kind of off-white color, as if they were
that
actually being sprayed. Yeah.
I didn't know that was going to happen. And that was amazing.
It certainly makes for some messy environments, that's for sure. Some people are saying it's blood just being sprayed everywhere.
Yeah. So downloaded the Nintendo Online app, and I saw my rankings on there on Splatoon 2, and I won 6, and I lost. It was pretty close.
Oh well, that's interesting. I mean, with the voice chat and all, did you use that at all? Because I remember you didn't have much experience when we talked about when the app launched. How has using it changed?
So I used it once, and that was just to if you ever heard of the Nintendo Dads podcast, Zach Erickson. I'm friends with him on the Nintendo Switch, and I talk together in Salmon One, and we were fumbling about and that. But Yeah, you don't have to use the headphone jack and everything. You just have to use your phone.
Hmm.
It seems fine. I don't know why people are up in arms about the headphones and the jack on your Switch in the.
Yeah, I just really hope that Nintendo does patch the whole, the multitasking app, or you gotta, keep your phone unlocked and all that. I mean, assume that was the case, that you had to just keep it unlocked at all times.
Well, there wasn't a huge amount of time where I wasn't using the phone, so it didn't go to lock mode
Hmm.
or something. And if it ever did go to lock mode, I would just wipe it. But it's still kind of bad, and I really feel like Nintendo should try to. Maybe they should partner up with Discord
Maybe they should.
and
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be definitely a good idea. Well, Nintendo's been kind of on the ball with trying to correct some of their hardware issues. They had the issue pop up with the battery. Some people had issues with the reading out of the battery percentage, and they just put a patch out that seemed to mostly fix that. So I'm sure they're watching, and they're trying to come up with some sort of solution. Now, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned Salmon Run in particular. From an outsider's perspective, the timing of when that mode seems to be active is a very baffling thing from the outside. I think it makes little to no sense. Why not just have bots if you want to do some sort of horde mode sort of kind of gameplay mechanic there? You mentioned you got to play it. What do you make of the time blocks that mode is only active in?
I feel like the time blocks are, I want to say, conditioning you to make time for. Actually, I think it's active right now, but when you look at Salmon Run and see that it's active, and you just want to play Splatoon for a little bit, and like, should I do Salmon Run or should I just do Turf Wars? Salmon Run gets me more rewards. Turf War gets me more points. Let's do Salmon Run.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is interesting. I think it's just, if they had some way to offer that, it'd be more of a full game package instead of just breaking it up by time slots. Especially when I was just in a place where Wi-Fi was just not a possibility at all. And if I had Splatoon 2 there, like, maybe I would have wanted to play that mode, but I would have no possibility. Granted, the no Wi-Fi thing is kind of an outlier situation, but still.
Yeah. Well, did you have another Switch that you can connect to? Because then you could probably... The only thing you could do would be single player.
Okay, yeah. So I guess, local, if that's a mode that would have worked, that could have been a possibility. Yeah, I'm hearing pretty decent things about the single player. So, I mean, that's good. That's one of the games where I'm tempted that, if it comes in a rental form, I would love to play it. Now, granted, with a cartridge, it would be a better experience that when I had a Splatoon come to the house and the disc was faulty. But I'm interested to give it a try, but it's not on the purchase bit just yet. And yeah, these next couple months are going to be crazy for games, so that's very exciting. All right, well, Video Game Guru 64, thank you for calling in. Anything you'd like to plug?
There's it's a charity marathon stream for the name of the channel on Twitch is called Fund the Charity Room. There's a bunch of YouTube groups that are doing a marathon of platformers. So, like, through when Sonic Mania releases, they're doing platformer games.
Okay, cool.
They have the last game is Sonic Mania.
Yeah,
so
perfect. Brings it right in there. Yeah, it's going to be very exciting when that game comes up for sure. I know we're both looking forward to it, I'm sure, and it'll be very, very exciting. Well, Video Game Guru 64, thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate the time. You have a great night. All right, guys, thanks for calling in. Appreciate the time. When we come back here on the Power Switch, we'll talk about this month in games, with it being August 2017. Lots to talk about when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. This week's tempo control music is brought to you by Tales of Symphonia. You can find a new video game music top 10 list from a specific game soundtrack every Tuesday over at youtube.com/rhymeswithasia. Let's get to a new segment now. This month in games, we're going to talk about what's currently kind of on that month release docket of the biggest releases in games for the month, this being August 2017. Now, of course, new games can always be announced during the month and saying it's coming next week or it's coming in a couple weeks. But here at the start of the month, we kind of want to get to seeing what the big games are as we break them down with their release dates, their platforms, and a bit of kind of what the game is really all about. So we start with August 1st. What's already happened? It's Patapon Remastered on PlayStation 4. Of course, this is another Sony testing the waters on an old IP. Patapon, you had Patapon 1, 2, and 3. This is bringing the first game in 4K. This was kind of in that announcement during PSX with Parappa the Rapper Remastered, Loco Roco, which that may still have yet to come out, but Patapon being the other one. Kind of testing the bubble to see how many people buy in. Maybe it says, oh, there's a big demand here. Maybe we have to do more. That's certainly what happened with Crash and the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. Lots of sales there. That team is looking at what they can do with the franchise going forward. So maybe that will happen with Patapon as well. That game is already out on PS4. Now on August 2nd, just a few days ago as well, Tacoma. This is the Fulbright game, the team behind Gone Home. And really great to see them put out this game. This is on PC and Xbox One. I'm sure a PS4 version is going to be eventually in the works, but ever since it was announced, it's kind of more talked as an Xbox console exclusive. Kind of takes place in a space station, looking at kind of holograms and really an emotive narrative story there, where I guess you could stay still and take in some of the story, but if you're going around and exploring, you're getting more out of that story. Very interesting to see what that team behind Gone Home and what their next project is, and that's Tacoma. That's finally out. Coming up in a couple days on August 8th, we had a few games. Batman: The Enemy Within. This is the Telltale Season 2 of Batman, the Telltale series. I'm super excited for this. Already have it pre-ordered. This is for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. You could either probably go into this, you'd be missing a lot from Season 1. I highly recommend Season 1. It was my top 10 favorite games from last year for Batman, the Telltale series. But at least, bring in the save file into Season 2. The Riddler seems to be prominent, at least in the marketing for this series so far. Very excited to see. And of course, this is just episode 1 coming out on August 8th, but they'll continue rolling that out every couple months or so for 5 episodes from Telltale. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is another game. This is from Ninja Theory. So, DMC, Devil May Cry, other hack and slash types of games. But Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, what's interesting about this one, being a PC and PS4 game, Ninja Theory is really marketing it as, we're trying to do a AAA sort of style game. And the marketing for this has gone back. That's, pretty impressive graphics, all things considered. But they're saying we're doing a discounted price. The game's going to come out for $30. Now, I don't know what that says about the game's overall length or what you're going to get out of it, but some rumored reviews are that this may be a pretty darn good game, and I think a lot of people will be would be really interested to that $30 price point. So very interesting to see what happens with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice on August 8th. And finally on the 8th, also Lawbreakers on PC and PS4. This is the Cliff Bleszinski new team. This is a kind of competitive, epic shooter, like a team-based shooter. I guess in a way they're trying to compare it to like a sort of Overwatch game where you have class-based shooters, but the idea is it's more vertical, it's more fast. You have to watch some of the gameplay from E3. Really interesting if that's your kind of game. Keep an eye out for Lawbreakers on August 8th. Now, August 15th is a big release day. At least 5 notable game titles, one of them being Agents of Mayhem. Agents of Mayhem on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. This is the team from Volition for Saints Row. I guess the idea is that it's like a 4-player sort of co-op kind of shooter, but you play as all four, that you get to cycle between these four. And it's kind of that over-the-top Saints Row-like style of action. I feel like the marketing may have been a bit bungled with this game. We'll see what happens when it comes out. But this may be one that kind of flies a bit under the radar. But, the Saints Row team has a pretty good pedigree. So maybe keep an eye out for Agents of Mayhem. You also have Matterfall on PS4. Matterfall is from Housemarque. Housemarque, a very solid, twin stick or side-scrolling shooter studio. That they did Resogun, they did Alienation, and just had a game a couple months ago. Nex Machina, that was the one. I was going to say we had Logan just come on, say he reviewed the game, and that was a big standout for him. So Housemarque with another game, Matterfall. We saw that at a E3 or so ago. Finally coming out on PS4. We also have Nidhogg 2 for PC and PS4. Nidhogg, you may remember, is the kind of jousting game, the 8-bit game. Well, things have been taken up a notch. It's more of a 16-bit art style. Things have certainly been added to Nidhogg. Keep an eye out for that one on PC and PS4. You have Night Trap, 25th anniversary on PC and PS4 as well. This is the Sega CD game, Night Trap, where you go around a house and look at different camera perspectives and try to catch the killer. You've probably seen the gameplay footage before, and I think that's going to be the real draw, is that not everyone really had a Sega CD, but for the 25th anniversary, putting it on console, putting it on PC, kind of a bit of a remastering there. Kind of see what this game is all about. That should be interesting on August 15th. And as we mentioned in our segment with the callers, Sonic Mania on basically every platform, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, August 15th. This may be the best Sonic game yet, if, early impressions are to be believed. You're talking 2D, you're talking people who have, made their own Sonic games, and they're so devoted and they know what makes traditional Sonic tick. Going to be very excited to see what Sonic Mania is all about. And the soundtrack samples so far, top notch. Really, really excited for that one myself. August 22nd, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. I just went and pre-ordered this game today, actually, because it's one I'm very excited for. But I had to tell the sales associate about this game, and he's like, there's another Uncharted game coming out? Yeah, this is going to be the single-player DLC to Uncharted 4. They worked with the game a little more. They kept building it, and now, sure enough, it's more than that. It's going to be a $40 release. It's more than just DLC. It's going to be its own game, its own Uncharted quality. This is Chloe Frazer and Nadine Ross as the protagonists here. So I have loved what I've seen so far. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End was my favorite game last year in 2016. I'm ready for more Uncharted, especially if it's at the solid pedigree that Naughty Dog is just known for. Takes place in India. I'm so down. On PS4, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy on the 22nd. August 25th, you have Madden NFL 18 for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. This year's big installment, it's interesting how we haven't really seen any of the main football gameplay so far, highly advertised. The big hit at E3, of course, during the EA Play conference was the single player sort of campaign, like they did with FIFA. You're getting a single player in Madden. I'd be interested to try it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm curious. That may be a rental though. It's been a while since I played a Madden game. I want to say at least 2012 was the last one I actually at least gave a try. So it's been a little while, but I do want to give it a shot, at least for the single player. Maybe what draws me back in. August 29th, Ark Survival Evolved comes to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Of course, the game's been in early access on Steam for quite some time. This is the final release where you've got guns, you've got dinosaurs. What more could you possibly want in an open world sort of environment? Go nuts. Ark Survival Evolved. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle comes to Nintendo Switch on the 29th. We saw that was a big standout at E3. Not only a surprise to actually see it be real, but to see that XCOM-like sort of gameplay where it's very tactical, but with that Mario and Rabbids feel to it. It won a lot of awards at E3 and a big surprise for quality. We'll see when the reviews come in, but keep an eye on that one for Nintendo Switch. And then this month's big release for that platform. Windjammers on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. This is the Neo Geo game where it's almost like Pong in a way, but with frisbees, and you're trying to have power shots, whether you're faking these power shots, you're bouncing it off walls, or shooting directly into the net. think of it as like neon frisbee pong on steroids. It's got a cult following, especially in the Giant Bomb community. But keep an eye out on Windjammers. That'll be probably, I think, a $15 release. Watch some gameplay of that one. That should probably be pretty exciting. And then you have Yakuza Kiwami on PS4. This is the remake of the first Yakuza game. Yakuza 0 doing big things this year for that franchise. So again, another budget price game. I want to say it's like a $30 or $40 game for Yakuza Kiwami. Keep an eye on that one. A big year for Yakuza in the United States, where it's kind of more of a niche following, but boosted this year, I would say for sure. Keep an eye on that. And then finally, August 31st, Life is Strange Before the Storm on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Again, an episodic installment, 3 episodes. First episode comes out on the 31st. I'm excited to see what they do with the story of Chloe Price and Rachel Amber, kind of set before the main Life is Strange game. Though the big notable exception with this one is that Ashley Birch is not returning as Chloe Price because of the voice actors strike. And it's kind of the first notable example of that video game voice actor strike really making a big hit and a big difference. Now, granted, Ashley Birch, a talented writer, working with Anthony, her brother, on Hash What You Plan, that ran as a web series for years. So she's at least there as a writing consultant role to kind of influence and provide, some background to this new voice actress for Chloe Price. And I guess it makes a little sense. She's a little younger, but it shouldn't be that different, I'd hope. Big fan of Life is Strange. Was in my top 3, at least, in 2015. I want to say at least top 5. I was really, really pleased with that game. So I'm going to be very interested to see, what Before the Storm does. So if you're looking at what games I am going to put money down on in August, so I guess my standouts, Batman the Enemy Within, I'd say Sonic Mania, Uncharted The Lost Legacy, rather, and Life is Strange. So 4 games. It's a big month. You got a lot of people talking about, are game studios trying to look at August now as a possible month to release their games to get out of that huge fall glut of games. And it's going to keep getting better and better, as 2017, possibly one of the best years of games for all time, really, as it continues. So keep an eye out on that. We'll try to have these segments, at the start of each month going forward. I think it'd be informative to kind of see what's on the horizon. And that'll do it for this episode of The Power Switch. We are hosted by rhymeswithasia.com, and we're on YouTube and Twitch at rhymeswithasia. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Power Switch, and you can email us any questions, concerns, comments, or opportunities at powerswitchpod@gmail.com. You can subscribe to The Power Switch on podcast services such as iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you could be so kind as to leave a review, that would really help as well. But most importantly, to participate in future episodes, you should join our community on Discord by visiting rhymeswithasia.com/call. It's a small but growing community, and as we continue to grow as a podcast, it'll be easier than ever to have your voice heard. If you want a YouTube video to watch this week, I found a story that was really interesting of a concept of a game that early testing is maybe coming later this month. Check it out in the show notes. It's called Comedy Night, and it's coming to Steam, and it's billing itself as an idea where you get to connect to a small room in a way where people can watch and listen and view, but you'll have a performer who is essentially trying to give stand-up comedy there live with a microphone. And then the people watching can kind of, interact or, heckle or cheer or, give thumbs up, things like that. I think it's an interesting way to try to maybe test stand-up comedy material. Now, this is someone as, I listen to a lot of stand-up comedy. I try to, watch new Netflix specials or channels on Spotify or Pandora. So I'm really interested, not necessarily just to participate. I don't think I have any stand-up bits ready or anything like that, but to show the concept of a game and the potential there. I mean, if it takes off, could you imagine what could be done in virtual reality? Maybe. I'm just really curious by the concept of the game. So it's Comedy Night, and it's coming to Steam. You'll find their Facebook page, at least it has the video there. I'm not sure if it's necessarily on YouTube, but it really caught my eye as a video to watch and just to see the potential for games going forward and what could be. Anyway, we're going to really try sticking to this time, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully the repetition helps people know that we're recording at this time. We'll get some more guests going. I want to get Max Roberts, also from Model Citizens Media, on the show. I have a couple other ideas for guests, but I'd like to get them all involved. Bring more people into the fold and get them talking about their experiences with games and their favorite games. I'd really like to do that. So stay tuned to our Discord channel as everything develops, and whether it's live or on your own time, I look forward to you joining us for our next episode. With that, I'm Peter Spezia. Until next time, switch up, call in, game on.